Guys, thank you for coming back for part 2 with Benjamin Dreyer. You heard on part 1 about his father's death and how he committed suicide on a job site in HVAC and how that affected him and how he took that and made it a mission to start helping people. So please listen to part 1 if you haven't heard it first, because it sets up the story for the whole conversation in part 1 and part 2. So let's get back to it, guys. This is the HVAC Know-It-All podcast. I'm your host, Gary McCreadie. This podcast is sponsored by Cool Air Products, Master, Cintas, and SupplyHouse.com. Go to the show notes and click on the links to check these guys out. Yeah. And to be honest with you, before right now, I'm fully on my own. I don't have any employer to tell me what to do. But when I did have an employer, the last few years of being employed, I started to feel, I wasn't depressed or anything, but I started to feel like there's got to be something else. There has to be something else waking up every day and working for the man. There has to be, because it was starting to weigh on me. And I started to get really frustrated with the same thing day in, day out, the same people giving me direction when I knew that there was a better way to do things, but their old school mentality seemed to be weighing me down. And I wanted to kind of spread, and sounds corny and flaky, but spread my wings to go on and do bigger and better things. Yeah. So I made the decision to cut the umbilical cord and say, listen, I'm going to do things solely on my own, because I've got so many ideas that I want to get involved in, do, and stuff like that. So I can see how working at a company where you may not enjoy the culture can really weigh a person down and make them basically not enjoy their life. Because when it comes all about work, I used to call, so here's an example. I would call our dispatcher, who was also our service manager at one point, and was like a 35-year technician within the trade. Mm-hmm. Old school mentalities kind of stuff. I'd call in and go, hey, listen, I'm not coming to work today. I'm not feeling well. And he'll say something like, how sick are you? I'm like, you mean how sick am I? Because if you're only a little bit sick, you're coming to work and going to that job site. And I'm like, no. I'm not feeling well. I'm laying in bed and I'm resting. Click. And I hung up the phone, and I started to get really, really upset and really pushing back on these people, because I knew my place. I knew that I had the ability to go work anywhere I wanted to. I could leave the company within 5 minutes. I would have a job somewhere else. I knew that. So I had the confidence in myself. But that's the thing. You have to gain that confidence in yourself. You have to understand the industry. You have to learn it. You have to keep learning, and you have to keep pushing through with the new transitions, like refrigerants, different ways to join pipe, A2L. You have to stay on top of the industry to know this and to be confident. And if you're confident and you know you can go work anywhere else, I'm not telling you to go out and start being cocky, but there's a difference between cocky and confidence. And I used to start pushing back, and I'd be like, you know what? No, I'm not coming to work. I'm sick and I'm staying home. Like, click. And that's it. That's it. I'm not playing these games anymore. And I came to that point in my life where I decided I'm not playing games. I'm making my own decisions that are right for me, not what's right for the boss who sits in the corner office that needs me to work to make him money. I'm going to make the choices for me. And I think when people start making choices for themselves that are not within limitations, you know what I mean? Within limitations, for sure. Not like every second week you're trying to take 2 days off or something like that. I mean, that's not acceptable either. But they're within limitations. Start making choices for yourself. And maybe you have to have that conversation with the owner, the boss. And maybe he's old school and won't listen to you. And maybe that's not the right place for you to work. So I'm saying a lot of things here. So you can weigh in, Ben, at any time.
No, you are a perfect example. Let's touch on that. You call in, you say you're feeling sick. They clearly don't care, right? That's your impression.
No, they don't care
because they just asked, okay, are you a little sick or you're really sick? Like, how do you gauge that anyway? But what happened inside of you is you understand that you're feeling like they don't value you. You feel like they don't care if you live or die. They just want you to make money for them. You understand that. And instead of yelling and screaming, you don't think I'm good enough? You want me to come to work? I'll show you. That the real problem is that they don't value you and you're not okay with it. That's the real problem at hand. And you address that by, hey, I'm not compromising on this. I'm not coming in. and I'm setting a boundary, I'm hanging up. That's totally fine. If you were to just buy into that and yell and scream, and this happens all the time, we're going to have a 20-minute conversation about, oh, how you're wronging me. You do this all the time. Oh, I do all this stuff for you. This is my payback. That's not even the real problem. If we probably boil it down even more, I bet the real problem was they didn't have people that were trained well enough to kind of backfill you when you were gone. And if they would focus more on that than they would on grilling you for not coming to work that day, the company's better off. And that's the point of focusing in on these conversations on the true problem rather than insecurity runs out of control, our egos are running wild, and now we're arguing for 20 minutes. We didn't solve a thing.
Yeah, you actually hit a very good point that I want to equate to sports, because I'm also a soccer coach. If I wasn't present, they could be upset because they don't have somebody else capable of doing what I was supposed to do that day, right? And that's a valid concern, but whose fault is that for not training people correctly?
Here you go.
So here's the equation, or I guess the parallel to sports. I coach soccer, and we have one big central defender, and he got hurt about a month ago, and he's like our main defender. Just takes everybody out. Not takes everybody out in a bad way. He takes everybody out in a good way, right? Because we teach him not to play dirty. He was injured and he went down, and we struggled to get another kid in his spot to do what he does and do it as well as he does. And as coaches, we discuss, like, listen, we need to train another kid that's as good as him that can transition into that spot seamlessly, like the snap of a finger. And that's where development comes in. Development in professional kids sports, wherever. It starts with developing correctly. And when you do that, you have people that can transition into different areas of the company because they know it so well, and or the field so well. And it starts at the core. It starts with training and development. And without that and doing it correctly, then if your two best guys one day call in sick, or they're caught in a snowstorm and can't drive into work or something like that, then what do you do? And if you don't have people that can step in, whose fault is that?
100%. And you're getting me pumped up now because this is the good stuff. And if you were to tell that defender, this is how the mental health thing and the business ties together. If you were to tell that defender, I don't care that you're hurt, go back on the field and play. Okay, how does that make that kid feel? Feels terrible. Not worth anything. I'm only here to show up and do a job. You don't care if I live or die. That's the message. But by actually solving the real problem at hand, which is, hey, we didn't train the rest of the people on our team to backfill that guy. That's our problem. Once we solve that problem, okay, there's less anxiety, there's less stress when that problem comes up again. By default, we're helping the mental health problem. By default, by doing that, the right business stuff, we're going to make an impact on the mental health side. And that's where I think people miss it. It gets treated as a separate thing, when in reality, it's those bad processes or lack thereof that create the problem in the first place. So you nailed it. That's a great analogy. And I want to pull up a perfect example of something that used to happen all the time whenever I was at a company. On a hot summer day, for example, stereotypical situation. Your customer calls at 1:30, their building's down, no cooling, people are threatening to walk out of the building. You take it to dispatch. They tell you, hey, they got to wait till tomorrow. We got 1 million calls. They got to wait. You simply ask, hey, can we shuffle anything around? Can we squeeze it in today? They give you I don't have time for this. They should have called earlier. Okay. What are you supposed to do as an individual? If there's no process in place for how we prioritize our customers. So what am I supposed to do? I'm just a salesperson. The dispatcher is stressed. Now I'm stressed. Now, instead of reacting with frustration and grilling her and say, this has to be done today. Do you know who you're dealing with? That's the kind of conversation that happens. But instead, we got to ask ourselves a question. How did I come into this conversation? Did I come in hot? Was I pressing them? Do I understand what they're going through? They're probably overwhelmed, right? Yeah, they're scared of letting the wrong customer down and getting fired. They're scared of that. So instead of me grilling them, what if I just simply said, hey, I know the board's slammed and I just tossed another fire your way. How can we work together to set a realistic timeline for tomorrow? And maybe later we'll sit down with the boss and we can talk about how we prioritize our customers. Because right now it feels like we don't have a process for that. And it's stressing you guys out. And I understand why. Totally different conversation, right? Totally different. And now we're actually solving the real problem, which is we don't have a process in place. And so again, it's always going back to solving the mental health problem through just good business practices.
Yeah, for sure. And I see that too, because I've seen conversations where it's slammed, and you have to prioritize customers. You have to prioritize who's, and it can be different. Like if a million customers are calling you, one customer is like, yeah, it's too hot in the lunchroom, I need someone here ASAP. But the next customer calls and says, hey, listen, our manufacturing blast freezer is down and we're stuck. We can't make our product right now. Well, sending somebody to the warm lunchroom is not the ideal situation. You send somebody to the process blast freezer that's down. And I think that's the conversations, and like you said, a process that needs to be happening. We have to prioritize the calls based on how important they are, and put out the biggest fire of the day. I mean, every day I wake up, and I could probably work for 24 hours straight if I wanted to, but when I wake up, my priority is putting out the biggest fire of the day, because I know that fire, if it's not put out, will just keep burning and burning and burning. And I think if everybody understands that, like the biggest fire, put that out first and then start working our way down, it might alleviate some stress, instead of trying to drastically just pick, like, you know what I mean, just cherry pick different things and go that way. Anyway, you said in the beginning when you started your business. Now, what did you mean by that?
Yeah, so we're a culture consultant, and we essentially teach exactly what we're talking about here, how to have those conversations that lead people to solving the real problems. And that's the point of showing up to work, right? It's a teachable framework. And really what we developed is a pyramid to help people use in situations like the one we just talked about. And the pyramid itself starts with, it's that communication, which we call voracious communication, which is just honesty and truth. It's communicating with honesty and truth. When we do that, we can understand each other. And once we understand each other, the next step is direction and influence. If I understand you, you understand me, we have some influence over each other. And I can focus on how taking us in a new direction. We're not going to be stuck trying to solve the same problem again and again. We're going to go somewhere else. And we can start to ask questions like, where are we going? What are we trying to accomplish today? Who am I taking direction from? Do I know who my leader is? Some of those kind of questions. And when we start to ask those kind of questions, we can really focus on the next step, which is fulfillment. And this is what a lot of people in our industry just don't focus on, because it's that mindset of put your head down and work. Well, if you're not fulfilled, you're going to burn out eventually. And to the point of the generational gap, if we're not understanding what fulfills those younger guys and we can't get them pumped up, fired up, ready to go, we're going to struggle. So, but once we find fulfillment and we can tell people, hey, here's how what you do matters. Here's how what you do makes a difference to the people that you're serving even. We can really get dedicated. That's the next step, a healthy dedication. Because in this industry, it can get negative quick. You'll see guys that will do anything to service their customers. They'll give up their health, their well-being, anything. And just to touch on that last piece of the pyramid, because this is what all companies want, and this is what they try to ram kind of down our throats, is accountability. And when done right, accountability is awesome. Like if you and I are working together, I want you to do the best job possible because I care about you and I care about the team, and you want that for me. When it goes wrong and those other things aren't in place, it's weaponized, right? It's the manipulation, it's the isolation, it's the I'll do anything and everything to get you to do what I need you to do. And it gets kind of a bad taste in people's mouths. But accountability, man, you need it for a business, right? You have to have it. It's just when those other fundamental pieces aren't in place, it gets toxic. And the reason for the pyramid is like in that situation with the dispatcher, I need to ask myself, where am I in this pyramid with this person that I'm talking to? Start with the direction and influence. I just asked if we could do things differently. Hey, how can we fit this person in today? And I got no response. I got shut down. So I need to go one step below that and realize I either don't understand myself or I don't understand that other person. I need to start there. And then that dictates my response of, hey, oh, yeah, I just realized you do have 1,000 calls on the board. How can I help you? How can I support you? And the conversation shifts, and that then you build your way up the pyramid with people. And ultimately, you want to be able to hold everybody accountable. Your peers, the guys that are in a power dynamic, the seasoned tech, he can be held accountable too. You just got to do it in that process, and you're good to go.
Accountability is needed in life. And one thing I'll say about accountability, and I learned this I learned this from the same boss that I was afraid of, and I would do crazy, unsafe things. But I did learn a lesson of accountability, and this has stayed with me forever. And I'll just tell everybody about it now. Is I was driving, young apprentice, and I was going to the mechanic shop. For some reason, I was taking the truck there that I was driving. I don't know why, but like in the middle of you'll have a couple lanes going one way and a couple lanes going the other way, and then you'll have like a medium in between. And on that little medium, there was a sign on it, just like a steel pole with a road sign. And I don't know how I turned. I must have hit the curb or something because I was making a left, and that sign was just at the end of my left turn. So I must have rode the curb up or something, and I hit the sign, and the sign bent over. Right, it was just bending over on the road. So I U-I'd. I went back to my office, which was 5 minutes down the road, and I was scared shitless, but I walked up into the office and I said to the boss, I'm like, hey, just so you know, the van hit a road sign. And he looked at me and he's like, what the did you say? Like, and I said, the van hit a road sign. And he goes, no, the van did not hit a road sign. He said, you hit a road sign. He said, man up, take accountability, be responsible for your own actions. And I said, you know what? Yes, you're right. I hit a road sign because I was in control of the van. The van didn't do it on its own. And that day I learned a lesson that I tell my players when I coach my own kids, like, be responsible for your own actions. And what I want to say to that too is when I said, yes, it was me that hit it, it's almost like I was filled with this like fluid of stress. And when I said that I did it, it's almost like the plug at the bottom of my foot, someone pulled it and all that stress fluid just drained right out of me. So taking accountability for your own actions prevents you from staying awake at night and not sleeping. Because when you try to cover up all your mistakes with lies and this and that and blame it on other things, you stay up awake at night, tossing and turning because you have not come clean. And now you have these demons you're battling with. But if you just come clean with all of your mistakes and you're accountable and you hold yourself accountable to that, I think a lot of your stress and a lot of your sleepless nights will start to dissipate or disappear altogether.
100%. And let me jump in there because that experience, you nailed it. It feels like all the pressure builds and then you pull the plug and it just releases. Man, that to me, I've seen it time and time again. That to me is what most of the guys in the trades are experiencing when they're not really able to understand what's going on inside. They're so frustrated. They're so pissed off. They feel so wronged. And yet when they go to talk to a coworker or especially a leader, they water it down. They don't say what they really wanted to say or what they really feel. And that stuff stays inside. And you nailed it. When it doesn't come out, it'll come out somehow. And usually it's the yelling and the screaming. Yep. It'll leak its way out. And that is what makes the cultures that just gave us a bad name really in this industry because it goes somewhere. But dude, you nailed it. When you're able to process that and you say, hey, you're right. I did do that. That's on me. How are we going to move forward? It now you have understanding and it goes away and you're on to go solve more problems, right? You're not stuck there forever. So you nailed it, man.
Okay. So the consulting business that you began, this was after the incident with your father?
Yep.
Yeah. And that drove you to want to help others that are going through this type of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Then the people in the trades just, my brother's a pipe fitter. So it's near and dear to my heart. I love this industry. And I just see the implications of not being able to communicate. And there's so much potential in this industry. There's money to be made, but it's just a fun thing to do. It's you have to be creative. You have to be a problem solver. And I just want to make an impact in the trades because, like you said, I've got a 1.5-year-old son, and I want him to be able to join the trades and know that he's going to have a good day. He's going to be taken care of. He's going to be safe. We can make that happen. It's not a far shot away. We can do it.
Now, how does it work with what you do? Do you travel and go into different companies and do one-on-ones, group sessions? Like, how does that
Sure.
work?
Yeah. So essentially we want to start out by getting in the business and we got to feel for the culture and we got to see how it operates because I hate to say this, but there are some companies who are simply just not going to care. And that's tough for people to understand.
100%.
But the first step is caring, right? Yeah. You have to care about people. So once they do care, it starts by, we want to identify people that are in the company now that have credibility and have trust with other people. And that's what we call a project champion. You would be a perfect example of somebody who's like that. People trust you. they lean on you, you have influence with them. We can leverage those people and teach them the skill set of how to communicate like that and how to work people through the pyramid. And it's not just from the top down. It's not leaders just pointing down saying, do this. It's peer to peer, right? It's the people in the field working on a job site, showing up, communicating differently, solving problems. Those project champions, those are the people that really make an impact. And we meet with them routinely to just ask, hey, how are we doing? Who's struggling? How can we help them? And it's just that spider web effect, right? People, they want to have a good day. If you show people a better way to do something and they're going to enjoy their lives a little bit better, they're going to buy into it. And so it's that spider web effect. And just through repetition. And then we do meet with the leaders to make sure they understand, here's what we're trying to do. Here's who we're focused on. But it's really in the field level, peer to peer, because most training that goes on from consulting firms, it does focus on the leaders, right? It's here's how you guys can optimize this. But the people that are doing the actual thing in the field, they don't get a lot of that training. So I think that's where it needs to go. And I think you make a bigger impact when you focus there.
So 2 questions. First question is, when you started to reach out to different companies within the industry, were you first met with any sort of resistance, or was the concept accepted? Like, how did that go?
Yeah, a lot of resistance, because we know the personalities in this industry and the types of people who rise up to those leadership positions. There's kind of a stereotype there, and they're not usually willing to ask for help. And so really what my focus has been on is I can make a business case as to why, if you do this, here's how you get a return on it. When people are happier, they communicate better, they're more productive, you get a return. And then I tie in, here's why I care, because these are people, these are human beings. You don't have to care about that. But if you care about the money, here's how it works.
Okay. Now, last question, and then we'll head out for the interview. If somebody or a company was interested in having you speak to the group, how would they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so they could go to my website, www.alignandelevate.consulting.com. They could shoot me an email. It's that same email address at gmail.com. And like I tell everybody, even if you don't use my services, just come hear the message, right? Hear about how it affects people. And just by telling that story and letting people hear it, they're going to show up differently. And I always like to tell people, you've got employees at your company that want to do a better job, that can do a better job, and they just need a little bit of a fire back in them. And if you give that to them, everybody's gonna be better off.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate this conversation. And I know it's probably difficult to discuss what happened with your father and stuff like that. So I commend you for being open and wanting to discuss that with us.
Thank you, man.
No problem.